1 million cups. Come grab your seat. Jump back in the camera frame here. All right, good morning, good morning. My name is Tim. We have all of our community organizers in the back. I'll run through quickly and introduce you. We have Brad over here, my comrade in arms. Dustin, shaking his head now. We have Barron, he's back from cruising. He was on a ship. That was a joke for a while. And then we have our newest community organizer that I'd like to introduce you to. We have Ben in the back. Ben Paul. So Ben has just come on board. He's no longer an apprentice. We've upgraded him. So he's official, and if you have any complaints, he will be taking all of your complaints. 1 million cups, you'll hear a little bit more about where we are in the world. We've got about 5 new cities that have launched. But we do this every Wednesday, 2 startups for 6 minutes, and then we have 20 minutes of Q&A. So we hope you enjoy. Today we've got 2 companies from out of town, sort of out of town, I guess. It's local. We got Springfield coming up second, and then we've got Jeff Moore, who his claim to fame is he actually runs CCEW. And believe it or not, we're going to have CCEW present in a couple months, probably talk about what they're up to. But we're going to have Jeff come and talk about Little Fish this morning, which I think you guys will enjoy. So give it up for Jeff Moore.
All right, thank you. Well, thank you all for coming out this morning to listen. Thank you, Tim, and the rest of the 1 Million Cups crew for putting this on. It's great that we have this kind of thing happening here in Oklahoma. We got to change this community organizer name a little bit. That's a little loaded. We got to come up with a better time. Okay. So let me tell you a little about Little Fish and why we exist. We exist to help organizations better connect and engage with their constituents. That means we help alumni organizations better connect and engage with the alumni of the university. We help nonprofits better connect and engage with the followers and supporters of their nonprofit. And we work with businesses that maybe lack the resources to have a significant data and analytical marketing campaign, help them put together campaigns that better connect those businesses with their customers. And how we do it, we are a cloud-based software as a service that analyzes the publicly available social media information on your customers, constituents, alumni, and classifies their interests based on things that they are interested in, and allows you to very easily translate that into a marketing campaign, invitation campaign to invite and engage folks around things that matter. So, why does this matter? We're all classified by things. We're classified by our jobs, we're classified by the school we went to, we're classified by lots of things, but the things that get us most interested are things that we spend our free time on. We're interested in and get excited and get passionate about swimming. We get passionate about the football teams we watch and about painting. These are the things that engage people the most. And the fact is, we're telling people more and more on social media those things that interest us. That information is out there, and that's what Little Fish is all about. It's finding that information, classifying it, making it useful so you can act on it as a nonprofit, as an alumni organization, or as a business. Typical CRM systems, even within, say, universities, this is what they know about you. They know your address. They know maybe when you graduated. They might know even what college you went to. But what Little Fish does is it really builds far beyond that. We understand for Susie Q, yes, she's a business analyst, but we also know she's into fiction and cinema. We know she's into health and wellness and interested in that. She's interested in digital media. That's information you would never know if you just went back to your basic CRM system. And this is what Little Fish does. It mines the social media to be able to pull together this kind of information. When you talk about universities and alumni in particular, we focus on this area because this is one of those markets we're most interested in. It's really important to know this because state support for universities is at a 25-year low. So what we really need to do is improve the giving of the university. We know that people that are engaged in the university as in activities, as alumni, they're 4 times more likely to give. And so when you look at alumni giving, about 87% of the typical university's alumni bases are non-donors. Another 12% give just a little bit. Only 1% of the alumni base are actually big donors, and they make up about 85% of all donations. So if we could just convert just a few more of these little fish in the alumni organization into givers, we can substantially improve the financial giving and the financial base of the university. All right, so this is just a quick demo of very basic what it looks like. This is just based off about 500 people. Give you a bunch of campaign suggestions, different categories you can explore, categories even further. Let's just give you some examples of types of categories you might look at. In this case, broadcasting, you can select broadcasting. These are all the people in this database that are interested in broadcasting. We can create a campaign directly targeted those people based on broadcasting. We can also explore other related topics like CNN in particular, and even dive into deeper detail. We can also look at individuals, so if you're about to have an individual contact with someone, you can pull their profile up and immediately look at the categories and things that they're interested in. And then on the right, you can also look into their Twitter feed to see what are they talking about at this moment. So pretty powerful stuff if you are about to market or about to talk to an individual in particular. All right, so how do we do this? We're cloud-based software that costs between $1,000 and $5,000 a month to be able to maintain and update the database. It's a huge market. Just in alumni giving alone, there are 8,000 higher ed institutions with a $200 million market. Nonprofits is a $250 million market. Beyond that, using just the API, connecting to more commercially available and commercially focused contact information and contact management systems, significant market there. I am one of the founders. We have one developer and a business developer focused on alumni organizations, and this was primarily launched out of Fountain Ventures, which is my holding company for social and technology ventures. Incubate them, invest in them, and launch these kinds of ideas. What do we need? Well, currently self-funded, we need more funds to attract help. Looking to attract a project manager or CEO to take this business, make it their own, and launch it and run it. We have a beta version available and running. We have a handful of universities testing and using it today. Our next step is to build the API so that we can make this a more commercially available.
All right. Well, that's your 6 minutes. You did a great job of getting through everything in 6 minutes. So now we're going to open it up to questions. So if you have questions, raise your hand. I'll bring you the microphone.
Can you just clarify again sort of where you are today with it? You're in beta, or what level you're at?
Yeah. So we have a functioning website. It's a beta version. We've signed up 8 universities and their alumni organizations to test and use it. They went through one version of it. We got a ton of feedback, and we went back and revised some of the issues that they raised. And as of yesterday, we have a new version to be able to put in front of them to test out again. Sorry.
How do you get all the information from Facebook and the media on people? I mean, I wouldn't think it would be available to you.
Fortunately, there is quite a bit of information that is publicly available. So Twitter in particular is a publicly facing thing that you can protect your own Twitter account and prevent people from publicly seeing it. Similar with Facebook, there are a wide range of privacy selections that most people don't select. Pinterest is a very public focused. Instagram is very publicly focused. And unless you've gone in there and specifically selected the privacy settings to prevent people from seeing things, then it's going to be publicly out. So for the most part, people don't do that, so we have a ton of information available for folks. So kind of like the the CIA, but for publicly available information.
What's some of the feedback that you got from universities, both the negative and particularly the success stories of how I used it well?
Still a little early in using the information that they've gathered, and like the kind of feedback we get is ranges from, hey, this is kind of interesting, to the light bulb goes off and people see immediately how to use this. It's a little far afield from sort of typical sort of alumni engagement. You really kind of have to be a little creative in applying this. So the Susie Q example, because she's interested in cinema, now it would take someone to have to actually think about it and go, okay, let's get all the people that are interested in cinema and connect them with the new film that we're about to show, here on campus. Today, there really isn't an infrastructure to do that unless you have somebody really thinking about that. The other kind of feedback reaction we got was, this is great for alumni, but we could really use this for prospective students, because that ultimately drives revenue for the university, and they really see this as an opportunity to connect with students as they're coming in. In general, feedback is good. I've yet to really see them apply it and see the results.
What do you see as the sales efforts to, once everything's in place, that it will take?
Well, from the first market we're targeting at is the alumni organization. So our business development team, I mentioned that they're right up super, is a sales organization focused on selling affinity type things to universities. So they've got 20 years experience in this. They have a huge network of folks, and they're the reason we have this initial set of 8 beta customers. And so they're really the point of the spear right now for the alumni market. From a nonprofit point of view, we've done a number of sort of marketing calls to sort of understand what it takes to sell in that nonprofit space and stuff. So I think our next step we're going to take is really focus on the API and begin to take a much more sort of e-commerce approach to marketing through SEO, SEM, and direct email.
If you're working with a university and they want to collect data on past alumni, do you work within an existing database of alumni and find them online and collect data? And then if it's, let's say, like a nonprofit and they want to do a campaign, they have a database of previous donors, but what if they want to reach new donors? How do you target and where do you go to bring in new people that may not be in an existing database?
Okay. On the first question with the alumni, all of these organizations have some sort of CRM system, and there are 3 or 4 out there that are specifically built for alumni organizations. And we've built this so that it is easily transferable, in terms of the information, is easily transferable back and forth. The campaigns we create are simply CSV files, essentially, of the information that they were seeking in that campaign. It can be easily uploaded back into those systems. And in terms of new customers, the focus of Little Fish is around sort of deepening the relationship with the people you already have. It's not built for seeking out new and bringing them in. It is possible once over time, we've built up a big enough database of people from different organizations. We can look across the data set and say, here are a bunch of other people that are also interested in fostering dogs that maybe aren't in your database. That ultimately could become some sort of revenue source for us, but at this point, we don't have that. So, now, the original idea for Little Fish came from phase 2, and they had originally built something similar to this, but it was reverse. It was looking for the new customers, and we decided that that area was already mined. There are hundreds of listeners, social media listener companies out there, ranging from absolutely free to very expensive. So we thought that whole area had been fully mined. There really wasn't anybody focused on the depth of relationship with existing customers.
So I get that you're pulling information from Facebook and Google's APIs. and other Twitter. So the question is to what extent are you cataloging that information? And what availability can the client query certain phrases? For example, if I was with Walmart, I want to see who mentioned Walmart in the last however long. To what degree is that possible right now?
It's possible that that puts us more in the realm of being a listener. And that's not kind of the place we want to position ourselves at. We can easily listen to every tweet and every post and pull out words, but that's really not what we're designed to do. We're designed to look at interests, and instead of looking at the individual tweets, what we look at is who are the people you are following, who are the people that you have liked, what are the categories of things that you track. And from that, we get a much more well-rounded picture about who you are, as opposed to one tweet you made today, which may have nothing to do with you, but maybe just something that happened to you. The other challenge we had from a sort of real-time tracking and real-time listening was discerning positive and negative sentiment. And so by looking at interest, if you are following something, at least you've shown that you have enough sort of interest over time to think about something positive.
If you could clarify the value proposition, because I'm confused a little bit whether this is a analytics company or is this a marketing company? Maybe it's both, but then that would bring a follow-up question.
The focus is more on the analytics. We're not building and creating and coming up with the marketing campaigns for you, but providing the data so that you can do that source. Sorry, what's the other part of the question?
Well, then my follow-up question is, how is Little Fish different than all the other companies that are specifically targeting the analytics for the individual networks? For instance, Tailwind presented here a couple months ago, which is a Pinterest analytics company. How is it different, and why would I choose Little Fish versus somebody who specializes in that particular social media?
Yeah, great question. I think just the specific Tailwind versus us is a little different. Obviously, they're focused on Pinterest and going deep into that for brands. This is a tool that's probably a little more horizontal and provides a specific kind of information. If you want to know interest and interest groups of people in your database, you'll come to us. If you want ongoing support around a brand and brand management and Pinterest, you can go to something else. So for me, it's not an either or. There are many, many sources of different kinds of information analytics around marketing. Universities themselves, in particular, grab information from lots of different places. Some of it they pay for, some of it free, but none of those provide this specific piece of information.
Jeff, I have a question.
Sure.
So, Little Fish, is it a lot of, if I'm a university, and to me that's the clearest market for this, is the output I get from Little Fish, here's a list of people with this interest, and then it's up to me, the university, to choose what I want to do with that list, or whether it's, is it basically just another way to sort my alumni network, or are there tools built into it that, hey, I can message all these users through Little Fish?
So the only tool that we've built in at this point, anyway, is to be able to create a email list campaign around a particular topic. So if we have 10 people in our database interested in cycling, I can hit a button, I get the list of the 10 emails that are interested in cycling, and now I can take that email list to any other tool that I already use, MailChimp or Constant Contact or whatever, to be able to message them directly with that message.
And I'm going to follow up my own question. Is there any thought about taking another channel back into like the Twitter API and being able to say, well, we know this alumni likes cycling, and so be able to do a Twitter ad API to those people and reach out to them through the channels. I don't know if that's even possible or exists, but
I think the direct to Twitter to groups, I don't know if that's even possible. There may be some third-party things out there that allow you to sort of blast a tweet to specific people. But I think over time we'll figure out what are the tools that are most helpful. And our initial take at this stage was everybody already has a bunch of systems in place for CRM, for connecting via email, connecting via other channels, that we would just be an information provider to those ones.
I know your focus is on universities and maybe nonprofits. In the future, if it goes that direction, would it be possible if you're just a business, maybe a bike store or something, to be able to take 5 years of customer transactions and the information you have on your customers, if you wanted to do a campaign or a bike race or something, to be able to go through and find specific information on 5 years of customer history? Would that be possible? Or is that something you would even consider in the future?
Yeah, definitely possible now. We can do that today and basically upload your entire customer database that you have and go out and find them in social media and do that analysis. When we did sort of initial customer validation of that segment, sort of small and mid-sized businesses, what we found is it trended one of two ways. One is not sophisticated at all in sort of e-commerce marketing techniques. And so there's a big learning curve to get them to the point of this is how I would use it. And then on the other end was already have a marketing analytics group or person, these relatively larger companies, gathering this kind of information, not that useful to us. So we're kind of stuck without sort of one sort of poster child of a small or mid-sized local business, very sophisticated in e-commerce marketing, gets this pretty quickly, knows how to use the information. It's just hard for us to find that person, but if we did, we would definitely do it, and we'd have to figure out what's the right way to market to that segment.
Okay, what does your team look like right now, and then what is sort of the next 6 months look like for you guys? What are your short-term goals?
So current team is myself, one developer who works on this as a side job essentially, and then business development group that helps us with the alumni sales and relationships. So small, very lean, and this, as I said, entirely self-funded. So I'm writing checks from my paycheck to keep this alive and make the changes and keep it going. And the next 6 months is focus on getting an actual product, demonstrate its value, use that to be able to raise funds so that I can attract somebody to take this. This is the model of Fountain Ventures: is get something going, attract young entrepreneurial talent who want to take something and own it, and then incentivize them to make it happen.
Okay, so what can we as an entrepreneurial community do to help you and help Little Fish?
Well, probably one is if you know of anyone that's sort of in between entrepreneurial gigs, likes software, might be intrigued by this kind of idea, having content. If you want to try it out, that would be terrific. We're available at www.getlittlefish.com. You can individually get on there, sign up, and connect your Twitter account to Little Fish, and it will connect to all your followers and give you an entire profile of everyone following you on Twitter. That's available for free. You can try it out and play with it. So get on, try it out, and let me know what you think and suggestions to improve, and try it out and use it. It'll be terrific.
Awesome. Well, let's give it up for Jeff and for Little Fish.
All right, well, we do have a few seats. Well, it looks like everybody who wants a seat has a seat, but we have a few seats in the front if you would like to sit down. Once again, welcome to 1 Million Cups. My name is Baron Ryan. I'm one of the community organizers. Last week I was on a cruise, which is why I may appear a little suntanned and a little sad to be back in real life, but I'm getting used to it. If you'd like to know what's going on with 1 Million Cups from week to week and know what all our announcements are, just send us an email, Tulsa at 1millioncups.com. I know I say this every week, but we actually get people who subscribe pretty much every week. So if you're getting tired of it, then deal with it, because more people want to know what's going on with low incomes. Get in the Ring, which is a startup competition, has applications due August 15th, and it's actually a national competition. If you get to the finalist stage, you go to Kansas City. I'm sure there are lots of exciting more things that I don't remember about it right now. Launch Oklahoma is a venture accelerator that's I think recently launched, so you want to go to. Well, yeah, can you believe it? LaunchOklahoma.com to see the resources that they have for startups here in Oklahoma. One slide that I did not put in the announcements, but that's very valid, is the Forge is accepting applications for new tenants. So if you have a startup and you want some space, then you should go to the Forge's website and investigate. Maybe you can get some sweet office space there. Lastly, 1 Million Cups is now in 55 cities to our count. It's launching in Albuquerque, Milwaukee, and Salt Lake City today, so pretty sweet, am I right? Do we need to change anything? Because that's the last slide. All right, our second company is also from out of town, like Tim mentioned. He's nearest Kansas City, but he presented in Springfield most recently. There it is. His company, Estech, makes a magnetic bracketing solution that is about as specific as I can get, so I'll let him explain the rest to you. Please welcome Eric Steckman.
Thanks, Barry. This should work. There we go. Okay. First off, thank you so much, guys, for having me speak today. It's nice. I have not been in Oklahoma in a little over 3 years. It's been too long. I don't know if you've ever been on like Highway 10, some of the more rural roads. I decided to take yesterday, and I'm going to run out of gas here. But it was a beautiful countryside, and thank you for having me. I'm Eric Steckman, as Baron said. Live in Kansas City. My company is Estech LLC. My background personally is as a civil engineer, graduated from University of Missouri Columbia. I don't know if there's any Mizzou grads in here. Hopefully I don't get chased off by any KU grads, potentially. But engineering is so broad. Right now we're in a deluge of technology, electronics, and programming. And my brain, I'm getting passionate harkening back to materials. I'm basically studying different materials and how to use them in cooperation with our current technology. And that's where a lot of my company products have taken off. So Estech LLC started up several years ago, and its core product, and its current core product, is the magnetic bracketing system. I'll show you guys photos of this in a second. Oh, it's okay. You can leave it there, it's fine. So, several years ago, I was working for a water tower company, and had a customer tell me, oh, we need a cable routed up the surface of our water tower. And our current proposal is $5,000, and we don't even own that cable. Is there any other way we can do this less expensively? And I was like, I think I have an idea for you guys, for a product. They said, okay, well, send us a proposal, put a number on it, and if it'll work, we'll sign it, and we'll just entrust to you that it'll work. We trust you. So they signed off on it, and that was the first customer. It was just a blind product. I was like, okay, I got this order in, now let's make it and see what we can do. So that product went through a lot of iterations. I finally got to a product that was innovative enough and passionate enough. I was like, I need to patent this. There's a lot of different claims that I can issue with the patent office. We can make this actual nationally distributed product under a patent. I also, with my company, perform regulatory inspections, underwater inspections. I don't personally go underwater. I send my little camera to do that. I also do contracts for the military community and rapid design and prototyping, drafting and stuff like that. So taking ideas that are material and making them come to life is really what I'm passionate at. So the magnetic bracketing system, that's what it looks like. The Springfield folks were like, you should have showed us pictures earlier. So I'm showing pictures earlier. So these are the brackets, but I'll get into the technicalities for a second. So there's a lot of different form factors. The great thing is with current CNC cutting of steel, you can make custom brackets for every order basically, depending on the need. And a lot of them have been customized for customers' personal needs. Okay, and that's that pipe right there. So I was able to, with this customer in St. Louis that had this blind product, blind proposal, was able to make a magnetic bracket and affix it to their water tower. And it's currently, doesn't have any corrosion on it, but allowed me to very quickly, very economically attach a cable on the tank. And I ran with that and paired it up with another fastening system called snap-ins that are extremely common in the industry. We're surrounded by infrastructure. So we look at who's the customer. So basically anything that is steel right off the bat. You have I-beams right over your head. You have cables laying on that I-beam right there. So we can take magnetic brackets, large or small. We can attach them to architectural steel, where you don't necessarily, if you're an IT guy, you don't necessarily have a certified welder. You don't want to weld brackets on or bolt some things. So we can attach it very quickly to architectural. We also have the telecommunications industry. So if you're driving on the highway and you see a big galvanized pole for cellular arrays, those are called monopoles. These work perfect on monopoles. And with water towers, when water towers are built, there's nothing on them usually. Usually there's a light or maybe one antenna for telemetry, but that is an elevated infrastructure for a telecommunications company to locate their antennas on that water tower. So it's valuable to them to, what we can call it is co-locate, but it has to be done properly. And this will allow them to do that faster and without disturbing the coatings. For instance, just with the product category of water towers, there's over 100,000 of them in the United States. 90% of them have cables on them. Most of them have cables routed up the ladders, and those are a violation for local regulatory agencies and also nationally with OSHA. You can't have any wires going up ladders. So bad and ugly. So these are what I see in the field a lot. These bands and other antennas. The photo on the left shows a ladder going up a water tower, and this company has attached everything to the sides of the ladder, which several kids climbed up the cables, got to the ladder, and then were hanging out on top of the tank. So that's one of the reasons why everything needs to be away from the ladder. A tank like that is so wide that you can't just put a band around it. You have to weld. But this is an eclipsing technology that allows somebody to not have to weld on that tank.
Thanks, Eric. We're ready for questions now. Does anybody have a question?
Can you talk a little bit about the manufacturing process? Does your company actually manufacture the product, or do you outsource that?
Currently, about basically 75% is manufactured by me. So the CNC cutting is done by another company. That takes a machine that is the size of a 2-car garage, and it costs about $100,000. So it's pretty inexpensive for me to contract with them to cut out a bunch of parts for me. One of my goals is to purchase a miniature version of that, or at least a smaller version, and do more fabrication in-house. But all the other form factors are all done in shop by my company.
Okay, so on these brackets that you have on the pole over here, what would be the average cost of one of those? And as far as your attachments for the cable, is that an adjustable bracket, or is that something where you have to specify? Like, for example, if you're not sure if you're going to wind up with 3/4 or 1 1/4 conduit, Is that something that's adjustable, or it's something that needs to be spec'd upon order?
Yeah, sure thing. So the snap-ins are available on the internet. They're usually $1 a piece. I mean, you can get bags full of them. And you can specify what diameter of cable you put on. And there's also other attachments for it aside from just cable. So you find the diameter that fits you. This rubber thing is called a cushion for the smaller cables. These 3/4 inch holes are basically universal for these kind of snap-ins. So the bracket itself, when I sell these to a customer, they might want me to provide the snap-ins out of ease for them, or they might have some of their own in stock, and they'll just pair up and connect to that universal connection.
Gotcha.
And the actual diameter of the steel surface is something that has to be communicated so that I can form it to that diameter. And I mold around in my head over hinges and other things that are universal, but really for the cost valuation, this is no hinges, it's less expensive. It takes just a moment to create a bracket of a certain diameter. And there's no failure points. There's no hinges that can swing out and provide a moment force that'll break or anything like that.
Okay.
There was a first part of this question what the cost was. What do you answer that before I get to
The
mine?
cost point. So cost point is kind of like, what kind of cards you have. So I can tell basically the breakdown of the cost of brackets like these are $100 a piece. That sounds expensive. I've had brackets range from basically $50 to $300 a piece. And over 4 years of sales, I haven't had any customers complain about the price. And they tell me for the actual physical device, it's a little bit more expensive than the other devices that you buy, but when you get done with the installation, the fact that you don't have to have certified welders, you can have a smaller crew, and it's lower man hours, they're like, it definitely is advantageous for our profitability to have this, even though the cost there is a little higher. That's what we want. So that's what I've been hearing from my customers.
And you talked about the inception of the idea of the company, which I enjoyed hearing. Could you take us, what's been the process since then, and where does that leave you now looking to the future?
So in the past couple of years, my sales have been oriented towards my former market when I was in the water tower industry. So I'm trying to understand the market. What I'm realizing is the water tower owners, they're not really the most impactful market I have. They are impactful, but a lot of it is with the telecommunications industries and the engineers. When they see this, they see it's non-corrosive, it's strong, it doesn't disturb the expensive coating systems. They're hooked. And there's also kind of a cool factor behind it. And additionally, a lot of, especially the Xeon monopoles, they're getting really crowded now with other cables. There'll be bands all over it. So this kind of keeps you on your side of the fence. You basically just attach right in your neighborhood where you need to go. You're not disturbing the surroundings. So the market really has transformed me from calling on water tower owners to the installation companies and the engineers. But it's so broad that, I need help marketing this. And that's where, that's some of my questions for you guys when we get to it.
So, just to clarify, is the big bracket, is it connected magnetically? Is that?
Yeah, so this entire steel piece right here
Okay.
is connected magnetically. And they're strong enough to hold any cables of their application, but they're just strong enough so that you can detach them and move them around at the time of a renovation, or if you need to take it off. It's not impossible to take off.
How many cables can go on a bracket?
That's awesome. Can somebody grab a big fat cable in the back and like a big fat bracket too? Yeah, grab a huge bracket. One with the flat top. Yeah, very awesome. That's an awesome question. So last December, I got a phone call from a customer. They said, "All right, buddy, we've seen these brackets. We need to do an installation in Macon, Missouri." I have a photo right here. Okay. They said we have 12-inch and 5/8 heliacs to put on one bracket. 12 of these guys, and it's a little intimidating. It's like, man, because I'm used to making the smaller guys for cables like this. So I literally went to my machinery and I looked at how big of a bracket can I possibly shove through my machinery. And I created, the first bracket was back there. It has a bunch of holes in it. There you go. Yeah, that bracket right there. So that's what was installed in Macon. They installed it. It was 10 degrees outside. And there's snow and frost on everything. If they had to weld, they wouldn't be able to properly touch up coatings and stuff. And they loved it. They were actually using the bracket to grab onto the tank. Since they had repelled, they were grabbing onto the tank, pulling themselves in. And I'm not supposed to repeat this, but they were standing on the brackets, vertically hanging the next bracket, so it's strong enough that a fully grown installer was standing on it. So the brackets I gave them for 12 of these guys had enough magnetic force to pick up a fully loaded Harley Davidson off the ground. The new magnet technology is impressively strong. And if you can pass around, there's a little square piece of steel with magnets on it. They can get dangerous at times. I was installing a foot last year, and I do a lot of stuff late at night, and sometimes your brain just goes a little weird. And I was like, well, these magnets reflect each other a little bit. I was playing around with it, and then it clamped down on one of my fingers. I think it was, the whole bracket assembly was over 2,000 pounds. But it got to the corner and pulled it out, and I'm like, I'm not doing that again. So when we build all these systems, if that got close to a laptop or a credit card, it's done. So that's why we want to keep it away from electronics. As I said, so long answer, but we can attach. We can attach many cables to these brackets, and they're surprisingly strong.
So I have a marketing idea. Why don't you do a video of you picking up a Harley Davidson with your magnetic brackets?
I need a Harley Davidson.
Or any
Or
sort
a
of motorcycle.
volunteer. The super glue commercial, the hat on it, but that's a great idea. I'd like to find something at least I can show that I can do a pull up on it or something. That's good. That'd be great for a website or a short video. Because I literally have customers who sometimes they don't buy this because they're like, it's not strong enough. And they've never seen it in person. Because I have other customers, contractors wanting to install them. And it's like, I'll show you how strong they are. At least watch a video.
Any questions? I have a question while I'm walking. What's your sales process? You said you moved from water tanks or water towers to telecommunications. What's your process for reaching those people? Are you doing selling? Is somebody else doing the selling?
Right now, I'm doing the core sales. For instance, here in Tulsa, I have a meeting with the telecommunications company that's nationally represented after my meeting here. So it's blended in between the grassroots marketing that I used to do with my customers and emerging into the specifying and what will be in a couple months. I'll be attracting and locking in a national distributorship contract with the national firm. So it's been nice to have a couple years where I can streamline my product, my approach, my form factor. That way, when a national distributor picks it up, this is what it is. It's tried and true. Even if it feels like a slow process at first, I know that everything is operational completely.
What kind of liability issues do you have on these products? Let's say you have somebody stand on which they probably shouldn't, and they will give away. What kind of issues have you?
Yeah, so my new brackets are marked for safety. They say magnetic caution, magnetic bracket, do not attach. So somebody could do that. They need to know it's magnetic. I'm also going to hang a sign near the cable at the bottom. These are magnetic. That way they're aware of what kind of product that is. But on these tanks, people who are on water towers and on systems like this have to abide by OSHA regulations in that they need a full body climbing harness that is usually attached by 2 or more connection points. So if for some reason somebody wanted to swing out like an ape on some of my brackets, even if it came off, if they're compliantly attached to the tank, nothing would happen or proceed with it. But they should not attach to these. The other liability aspect would be if something, if the cable fell off or anything like that. And the great thing about these brackets is they're redundant. Every 6 feet or so, there's another bracket. And there's a couple photos in here in the back. There's one photo in the back. Here's a tornado. 2014, earlier this spring in Odessa, Missouri, there was a tornado that knocked down a couple century-old oak trees, and a tank of mine that had my bracket system on it was right next to it. I'm like, oh gosh, all right, we got some repair jobs to do on this. It didn't even touch the system. It held true. So environmentals, wind, even a tornado, it's proven it's not going to come off and potentially harm a cable, because these are pretty expensive when they're all built up. Yeah, so sites that have these installed, for most regulatory agencies, the sites have to be fenced off. Most of them have security lights, security cameras, and then they would have to be basically vandalizing the tank to do something like that. And there's other products that install items on that, so I have basically just as much liability as the next guy, but if somebody is trespassing and vandalizing, anything can happen, I guess, so. Yes?
Actually, that kind of almost answered my question. I was wondering, you mentioned people climbing water towers. How easy is it to steal one of those things? High schoolers?
Most people don't know they're magnetic all that much. If you're in the industry, like, it's magnetic. But, you have people stealing, there's a little bit of copper in this. If you steal these for copper, you'd be better off working for minimum wage, because you have to work really hard to get your copper out of that. So there hasn't been any thefts yet. And I've thought about theft a lot. So the bottom bracket on these, if I can go back to a previous photo, what I'm going to do on some subsequent installations is put a stainless steel band, like a collar, around the very bottom bracket. It's usually the only one that you might be able to reach from the ground. Most of them you can't reach from the ground. But say if somebody accidentally hooked their truck and drove off and it snagged a cable, that collar, I think worst case scenarios all the time. So that collar, see, you have to, that collar would be stainless steel, non-corrosive, and it wouldn't induce any pinch points on the coatings. It's coatings. There's coatings projects that are $500,000, $1 million for certain tanks. And there's warranties, so customers really, really don't want you to grind and weld their tanks. So if they're like, you can do it magnetically, absolutely. So I project in 5 years after a hard national rollout, anybody that attaches onto steel is going to want to use magnets because they're so ubiquitously advantageous compared to other systems.
Okay, I have 2 questions for you. One of my projects right now is actually a WISP, so I think this is a pretty cool project. But so 2 of the questions. Sorry, the first one is have you had anyone complain of noise created from the magnetic field that close to the communication cabling?
Science, I love it. Okay, so I've studied the Gaussian fields of what happens with magnetics, and if you guys are passing around that plate that has the magnets on it, basically any stagnant magnetic interference that could be created is wasted energy. So if there's a magnetic field up and above this assembly, it's wasted energy. So what happens when I'll give you $100 to pull that straight off, not slide it straight off. By socketing these with a binary epoxy into a steel cup, into a million steel cups. I'm working, but what that steel does is it traps all the flux bands inside that steel and aims it like a gun straight back into the tank. So out here, there's hardly any magnetic force at all. And you exponentially lose magnetic force with a linear distance away from your magnet. So by the time this offset is created here, there's no perceived induction of magnetic field right here. And there hasn't been any noise issues, any connectivity issues with
Great.
customers' feedback.
That might answer part of my second question. My second question was going to be, how hard would this be to retrofit to actually use for the mounting system for an antenna on a tower?
I've done antennas.
Yeah.
Actually spearheaded a lot of new technology for that last year. Antennas are very difficult because you'll have antennas that weigh 2 pounds. Some of them I did last year. The antennas weighed 35 pounds and are 15 feet tall.
Yeah.
And one can come right after the other in a project. And they'll want several of these huge mambo antennas on a water tank. And you ask a lot of a steel surface when you hold huge things by magnets. So the actual thickness of steel will give you a strength feedback. So if you put a magnet on a file cabinet, you can pluck it off pretty easy. But if you put it on 1/2-inch steel, it's holding more of that flux field band and is fully capturing the magnetic force. So even on a tower, if I put an antenna that big, we're exposed to moment loads from wind. And it's not just wind, but the wind creates this oscillating cyclic force that wants to just pry everything off the tank. So that being said, I accomplished that and I did that, but they were all done in Tornado Alley. And I got done with the project, so I'm a yes man, I like to do stuff. And I'm like, I just put all these huge antennas in Tornado Alley, and then high winds were happening for the next 4 months. And on my phone, I have a weather app that tells me when high winds, and I'm like, oh, what if there's a problem? And all of them have been tremendously successful. There hasn't been any problems at all. But in general, I'm not a big fan of the antennas from the complexity standpoint, from a liability standpoint. That being said, I will probably do them with the right application in the future. But the cables are so high speed, the risk level is so much lower that this is what I want to run with right now.
So our last question, you alluded to this a little bit, but how can we, as the entrepreneurship community, help you take this to the next level?
Sure. Okay, so I need ideas on how to connect with local and national markets for this. Say, AT&T is a customer, Verizon, there could be municipalities. If you guys have inroads with them, connections, or ideas for connectivity. Also, I think it's one of my last slides. So this is, and I've done some analytics on profitability margins and sales. This is a $1 million product per year when it's nationally exposed, when there's good exposure of this product. It is a high yield, profitable product. To keep up with that, I can only buy a certain amount of stock inventory myself with my company right now. Like magnets are hard to get, and they're almost all from overseas. So if I had funding to invest in the company, I could buy additional machinery that would increase the speed of fabrication and basically uniformity and assurance that I can get the product out and build up a stock of inventory. And even the magnets I can have. Right now I have like 6,000 magnets in my shop. So, if you have your credit card in there, it's done for. It's not like that. But if I can basically get a whole warehouse full of, if I can get 50,000 magnets, when I do a national distributorship, there's not going to be any bumps in the supply chain. When I get to a certain margin, I'll order 4 magnets. So to float that kind of inventory, I'm at a point where I'm interested in talking with investors and determining profitability rates and contracts like that. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you guys for coming this week. We'll have 2 more great companies next week, and we hope to see you there.
Give us a joke, Ben.
What's the entrepreneur's personal motto? Anybody know? I started with nothing, and I've still got some of it left.
Yeah!